veterans organization in Massachusetts, being a part of starting the National Coalition for Homeless Vets, serving my country. Is that what I have to look forward to end up homeless? And I mean, it's real easy to happen, you know. And one of the other things we're going to be talking about, still in the vein of aging veterans, is the insurance that you have. You know, because one of the big things is that as you get older, you know that the final day is going to come. And are you prepared so that your family doesn't have to end up burdening themselves with a very expensive burial cost?
Yes, yes. Yeah, those are really, and we wait till sometimes too late, right, to think about those benefits and getting things in alignment. So what's your take on that, and how do you see, looking at that? First, I'll go to you and then to Kathryn, but how do you see people aligning those veterans' benefits, when they should be applying? How should they seek those services? And is there a number that they can call, to make sure that they are in alignment with that early on?
Well, Kathryn will answer the part about the numbers to call, and but I'm going to talk about, if you're 65 years or older, and if you happen to be able to have VA services, 22% of the veterans at that age have a diagnosis of major depressive disorder. So, if you're depressed, you're 65 and older, all your friends, like me, I'm 79. So a lot of my friends have already passed on. So, I mean, I'm fortunate to have married a younger woman, and she's still around. So, but, it's really difficult if you're alone. The actual rate of depression among older veterans may even be higher because not all of them are getting services from the VA. So the number that I talked to you about is those that is with the VA National Registry. So also,
yes,
if you're lonely, you don't have friends. Suicidal behavior and suicide in older veterans has increased. I was surprised to find that I thought that it was the young guys who were, killing themselves, the ones coming back from Afghanistan and stuff like that. But I was surprised to find out that those aged 65 years and older are the ones that are the highest increased suicide among veterans.
Yeah, that really is tragic, and it has a lot of implications as well. Because if you're, especially for the families too, first of all, the death of someone needlessly from a suicide, but then also the veterans benefits. If you don't have your veterans benefits in order and have your paperwork in order, that can be tragic to your family as well. So as a veteran, you need to make sure you seek mental health services early on and make sure that you are here, because every veteran, I don't care how old you are, you have something to offer this country and to your community. And it is essential that you stay around, because especially in troubled times like this, think of it as your duty. You would never take your life on a battlefield. And we are in the battlefield of a country that is facing all kinds of issues right now that needs your service. So I would just tell you that nothing is so bad that we can't, as a group, help each other. We have buddy aids. We were on the battlefield, and we had buddies on the battlefield. And we should have buddies here. Yeah, so always someone you can reach out to. So, Kathryn, tell us about those services, what numbers people can call, and also why it's so important for people to get their affairs in order.
So I think getting your affairs in order is absolutely essential. And if you're looking at benefits and information like that, I'd say source or your best resource is a local VSO who can help you file your claim, advise you on your VA benefits. So those are, your Legions, your DIVs, your VFWs, your AMITs, chapters, anyone in your community who can sort of help you through that process and get you more familiar with VA benefits is definitely, someone who you'd like to be reaching out to. I think there are a lot of other things to think about as well. One of the challenges I really see when we think about homelessness is that it's not only a systems failure, but you're thinking also about people who are in communities that don't have affordable housing and aren't able to afford their housing. And so for older veterans, we're seeing a lot of issues. Well, older people in general, right? We're seeing a lot of issues where, the stats from AARP and other organizations say that 60% of Americans have nothing saved for their retirement. And of those who do that are, nearing retirement age, the median savings is only about $88,000, which is not going to get you very far in combination with, your Social Security and any other benefits that you might get. So I think the one, if you're a veteran and you think you might be eligible for compensation or a pension, go fill out the paperwork. Go, please. I cannot tell you enough. Go. But,
yes.
Some of those risk factors, right? We're also thinking about how COVID has put a lot of people's employment at risk, and, unemployment is ending of, the end of the last panel. And from our toll-free hotline at NCHV, we just hear this level of despair from veterans who are struggling with housing insecurity because they lost their job, their unemployment is ending, they're not sure what's happening next, they don't know if they're covered by moratoriums. And one of the things that we think of how employment and play a key role in housing stability, but the fact remains that older Americans in general have a harder time going back to work than younger Americans, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there are these particular challenges when it comes to, maybe physical limitations, depending on what kind of job you had, whether you've got that transfer to, the jobs that are available in the community, or whether you live quite right in an area job that you could do. And then you pair that with a pandemic that presents, unprecedented health risks to older people. And that just makes it even harder for people to kind of catch up and stay afloat.
Yeah, that's so important because many people who are in the veteran population, especially if they're homeless, don't realize that sometimes they have these benefits, and it's just, incumbent upon them to try to, reach out and get those benefits that they can have. It makes their life a lot easier, and, gives them a hope in this world, because when you're homeless and you're, out there, it could be a very devastating experience emotionally, physically, and spiritually even. So that's something that I think you're absolutely right. I'm glad you were bringing up those issues about the benefits, because social distancing, especially now, doesn't equal social isolation. It doesn't equal social disconnection. Right? And we should be making sure that we stay in touch with these veterans.
And and that makes it real difficult, because if you're telling people they got to stay 6 feet apart, they got to wear a mask, then and then saying don't gather. Don't come together. So at our facility, we have 500 previously homeless veterans there. We had to put in a no visitor policy. Yeah. Now, can you imagine that? And we just now started to allowing them to have visitors, but no overnight guests. So, you've got grown men and women who are saying, what in the world are you guys doing? And it's not us. It's to keep you safe and alive. Right. And I'm going to tell you the fact is that I know it works, because out of those 500 and some odd folks plus staff members, we've had no COVID deaths. None. Right. As a matter of fact, we've only had about 8 to 10 actual tested positive. And they've since tested negative and are back in the population. So, but we're very strict. People don't like it; they get mad at us. But I say, but you're still here.
Yeah,
okay.
That's quite a success story.
You're not in, so I know it's problematic, but we have to try to make it through this.
Yeah.
And, the other thing is on the insurance piece, there is, if you get the insurance while you're in the military, if you're smart, you continue it after you get out. But guess what? 18 years old, 17 years old, you get out in 2-4 years. Is insurance on your mind? You're going to live forever. You survived the war. So that's not on your mind. By the time you get ready to think about insurance and you look around, what your mom and dad talked to you about was $20,000, $30,000. That just will get you buried and take care of some of the bills and things that are left behind. So if you're talking about $150,000 worth of insurance at age 40, that's going to hit you up a little bit. But then you got to watch out for those clauses in your insurance policy. Mm-hmm. Don't be like me. I spent $50,000 on my insurance policy. I didn't understand what they meant when I reached 78. That was going to be the end. It said something about 85 in the policy. So I thought I was good to 85. Huh. I don't have that insurance policy anymore. That I'm a part of that $112 billion in life insurance policy lapses that the insurance company puts in their pocket.
Oh,
because I didn't have the wherewithal to look. So that's what I'm on this show now today, shouting out to all, young and old, read your insurance policy and make sure that they're going to be covered. Your beneficiaries will be able to get some money when you die.
Yes, because you've been paying into it all that time, and
all that time,
thinking that they're relying upon
and
that.
My beneficiaries will get zero.
Yes.
From that particular policy. I was fortunate enough to get a policy like a third of the amount that I would have had, but I got one at a reasonable rate. So can you imagine trying to insure me now? What I'd have to pay? Yeah. I'll tell you what it is. They wanted $1,000 a month.
$1,000.
And for me to keep the insurance policy amount that I had originally before I was 78 years old.
That sounds like it's insuring somebody, but I'm not sure if it's you.
I know it. Well, I'm not, if I got $1,000 a month to give in insurance, I can put that into some kind of a money-making fund,
right,
that I can get back a lot more than what they're telling me, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What about the health care needs of veterans who are homeless? Because right now we're going into a phase where we're advising people to get their and I've been doing this for the last couple of months, but get your vaccination for seasonal influenza early. And then also once the vaccine becomes available for COVID-19, for the SARS-CoV-2 virus that causes it, what's your feeling on that, the pneumovax, making sure people are protecting themselves, especially if they're homeless, because sometimes people have to congregate. You can't help but congregate, right, if you're trying to survive sometimes out in a general population. So what should homeless veterans be doing as far as their health care? Do you think they should be coming in and getting checked, or what's especially right now?
So I'm a little bit biased there. I am one of those people that goes to the doctor and says, yes, give me all the shots, like every last one of them, because I'm not trying to get sick, right? And so I think probably the same holds. I think when you think about homeless veterans in general, they tend to, not only are they older, but they tend to even present older than their physical age, right? Because they've got disabilities, but also because being outside and being homeless ages you. And so when you look at the population, there is a pretty high prevalence of chronic diseases. We hear a lot from our members and from researchers about issues with falls, issues with, the usual things that happen when you're old, hearing impairment. You're also at higher risk of violence when you're outside, and especially when you're old. People will kind of target you, right? They'll think, oh, he or she can't fight back, and so let me pick on, that person. And so one of the things that we see a lot is that, the predominant population emergency shelters tends to be older veterans. And so given what we know about congregate settings and COVID-19 and the transmission of everything under the sun, and the possibilities of that, I say get your shots, get your checkups, get whatever you need to get done. And, communities should be doing their absolute best to house you somewhere that is safe and hopefully not in a giant room in a barrack-style facility in bunk beds, because that's not going to cut it for older veterans. It's just not. And I think some of those changes are changes that a lot of our members across the country and shelter providers will have to continue to think about making to adequately deal with their needs.
That's fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. That's such an important point you just made, because especially with the COVID pandemic, people going into shelters and maybe a little bit of fear and those kinds of things, other issues that are going on, and misinformation. And, I know that they're taking extraordinary steps to try to protect the population, as Ralph was mentioning before. With the interactions and trying to help people. But right now we're also running in a society where there are also food shortages. There was one report that came out that said about 41% of African-American families with children don't have enough food to eat. So this is putting a drain or a strain on the traditional food banks, and I'm not sure if that's affecting, the homeless veterans as well, because now you have to stretch that food across a greater population, and I'm not sure if they're keeping up with that, the demand.
Well, I can talk to you about Cloudbreak Houston, which I told you we housed approximately 500 previously homeless veterans, and we also have some folks there who, from Harvey, who are not veterans, and so we do serve some of those populations as well. Mm-hmm. And the VA is stationed right on our property. We have about 250 residents that are what they call VASH. That's the VA supportive housing voucher that they have, and they have a caseworker assigned to them, a case manager. And the VA people are just fantastic. Every Thursday they go out and find all kinds of good foods to bring in and supplement what the veterans have. These are independent people, with the exception of 74 units, which is set aside for what they call grant per diem. These are people who come off of the streets in transitional housing, and sometimes they're two to a room, and so that's a separate subpopulation. They belong to a program, so they get their meals. They get their meals free through the program. We used to have, and I think they're coming back now. We have a setup for one meal a day, or one hot meal a day, for any veteran who's 65 or older. And as Ms. Monet mentioned, that a great number of the homeless veteran population are 50 and older. So they make up the majority of the homeless veteran population. And so African Americans make up about 40% of the homeless population, but we only make up 13% of the population. We only make up 11% of the military.
Yes.
So,
yes.
So the food is very critical. But we encourage our veterans to learn how to cook and provide for themselves, and those that aren't able to access the food programs that are available. Mm-hmm. But that's a big serious issue. And as you get older,
yes,
are you able to cook?
Cook, right?
Are you able to move around and get the things done?
The mobility and that kind of thing. Yeah.
By yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So,
so we're running short on time. So what I want to do is we're going to close out, but I want you to, NCHV, if you have a website or a telephone number, and in a succinct point, what can we do to help our veterans?
Yeah, so our website is www.nchv.org, and our telephone number, if you're a veteran who's facing a housing crisis, is 1-800-VET-HELP, so VETHELP. And, we're available 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and we will go ahead and connect you to service providers in your community. I think in terms of the one succinct point, do your best to care about the older people in your life. Make sure that you are, connecting veterans who to all of the benefits that they could be eligible for, because, for some folks, benefits are benefits, but particularly for folks who are facing housing instability, those veterans are the difference between, being stable or being homeless.